Welcome back to CSS for Beginners. This is part 5. In this video tutorial, I'm going to break down a few things. Initially, what I thought about doing in this next video, this 5th part, was to go into detail about how to create something like this. I know it's not anything fancy, but there's actually some really good CSS built into this little example. But I started to look at it further and thought, well, actually, I need to break it down quite a lot. So what we're going to cover in this video is we're going to talk about having different style sheets. So we're going to talk about having different style sheets, how we can actually manage linking those style sheets to the HTML, and I think that's what we might just cover in this video. Not too much more, keep it nice and short. Oh, we might also talk about something called comments. Okay, so we've got different style sheets, why we might have them, how to manage linking the style sheets to the HTML, and comments. So that's what we're going to do in this video. So we'll start with different style sheets. So if we look at the file that we've created in previous videos, we've got a index.html and a text.css. And in our index.html, we use this line of code here to link this HTML document to this style sheet. Now, what I do when I build my websites is that I have quite a lot of styles. So I might have styles for text, I might have styles for the body and how the body looks. For example, here I'll have a style for the background color of the body. I'll also have styles for the layout. So for example, how to plot certain containers on my page. Again, go back to here. This green box here is obviously a container, it's got something in it. And these images here are also containers, they've got something in it. So I style those as well. So the way that I've learned to use CSS is that it's best for me to break down my different sorts of styles into different documents and then link all of those documents into the index.html. So here's what I'm going to do. First of all, I'm going to create 2 more style sheets. I'm going to create a style sheet for the layout, and I'm going to create a style sheet for, I'm going to call it main. Okay, and the main styles are going to be things like the body and what happens to that. So again, don't worry if you're getting confused, I'm going to walk you through it. Here we go. Obviously I'm using Dreamweaver. All I'm going to do here is I'm going to create 2 more style sheets and put them in the CSS folder. If you're not using Dreamweaver, again, you can use Notepad, open up a document, do a file save as long as you save it with a .css file extension inside your CSS folder, you're going to be fine. So I'm going to go to File, New, and I'm going to create a new CSS file. Here's my CSS file. Now obviously what's really important is before I even start writing any code, I need to save this file. It's untitled 2, it doesn't exist in my website, and so I'm going to save it. File, Save As, and I'm going to call this layout, oops, not in capitals. I'm going to call this layout.css, and I'm going to make sure it's in my CSS folder. Press save. And you can see straight away, look, that layout.css has appeared in my website. I'm then going to add another style sheet, so file, new. Again, don't worry if you're getting confused, it'll all make sense in just a minute. CSS, again, untitled 3, so I need to name it, put it in my website, so file, save as. I'm going to call this one main.css and put it in the CSS folder and press save. So what I've got here is I've got 3 style sheets. Layout, that's going to contain all the styles for the sort of sections within each of my pages, the containers in my pages. Main, that's going to contain all the styles for the body and everything that I want to do with the body, the main page. And text is where I'm going to style all the text that I'm going to use. I might even have more later on, but for now they're the 3 that I want to use. Now, you're probably already thinking, okay, what I need to do if I want to use these 3 styles inside this document, then I need to go in here and I need to add this line of code again and again and again. So for example, copy this, paste it, and then change these. So the top one links to text, this one links to layout, this one links to main. Now you can do that, and there's nothing wrong with that, and that's absolutely fine. But again, I don't do that, and I'm going to show you the way that I do it. There's no right or wrong really, unless we get into more complex things later on. You might see why one is better than the other. But for now, as long as you've linked these style sheets, whether it's doing it this way or whether it's doing it the way I'm about to show you, it really doesn't matter. So you could do it that way and all would work. The styles that I write in this document and this document will appear in this HTML because I've linked those two documents. However, I'm going to take that out and I'm actually going to change this to link to main.css, okay? And then I'm going to save that. It's not saved because it's got the star here. I hit save, we're saved. So main.css. Now all I'm linking to is this one. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to link to these two style sheets from this style sheet. So that means this HTML document is only linking to this style sheet, but this style sheet is going to link to these two style sheets. So I can use any of the styles that are in here on here because this document is linked to this one, and in this one I'm going to link to these two. Again, I'm a little bit worried I might be confusing you, so I'm just going to dive straight in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write an @import in this main.css here, and I'm going to say URL, open brackets, quotes, close brackets, semicolon. And let me just explain what this is doing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to link this main.css file here, which is this one. I'm going to import all the styles from this CSS file into here, and then I'm going to do the same for this document as well. So import URL layout.css. This bit of code here that I've just written, import URL layout.css, will import all the styles that I write in this document into this main.css. And then I'm going to just copy this style. Oh, zoomed in a bit too much there. Then I'm just going to copy this style, and underneath it I'm going to paste it and change layout.css to text.css. And basically what that's going to do is that's going to import all the styles from here with this line of code, and all the styles from here with this line of code. So I've only had to link this index.html file to the main.css because the main.css imports the styles from these two documents. Make sense? Hopefully it does. So what I've done there is I've created more style sheets so that I know exactly what styles I've applied to which documents, and then I've managed my styles by embedding them or importing those styles into one document and then linking that one document to the HTML file. Now, I said I wanted to cover 3 things in this video tutorial. Again, if we just go back to the different style sheets, I've covered it. You know, why do we have different style sheets? I've just explained so that I can break up my styles into different documents. Managing and linking to the HTML, I've talked about that, where we've talked about the @import URL, which is here. And the last thing I want to talk about in this video are comments. And this is something I probably should have talked about in previous videos, but again, I haven't, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what comments are, and if you feel the need to go back and add comments to your other documents, then please feel free. Basically, a comment is a piece of code, I guess. Well, it isn't. It's something that you can write inside your CSS that won't actually do anything. So for example, when I opened this main.css originally, I got this bit of code here. Again, we're not going to go into detail about what this does, you just know that you need it. And then there's this line of code here. Now this actually isn't code, this is just a comment. This means that when this CSS file runs, this is ignored. So I can write anything I want between slash, asterisk, and asterisk slash. I can write whatever I want there. And so what we do there is we use these comments to make our code better. What do I mean by making it better? Well, whenever you code something, whenever you program something, you actually write the program so that the computer can run that script and the code works. But you also write, or you should also write your program so that if someone else, a human being, was to read your programs, they would understand it. Why do we do that? Well, let's say, for example, we're working on a big project and I'm writing all of this code and I'm just writing code after code after code, line after line after line after line, and then I leave the company or I get sick and someone has to replace me. If they have to then finish my code, they might not understand my way of writing the code. And so it's always better if we write comments on our code to explain what these bits of code are doing. So just to confirm, a good programmer will write code that works. An excellent programmer will write code that works and that can be understood by other human beings. So that's where we use comments. So here, if I write a slash asterisk, which is actually the shift and the number 8 key, anything I write in here will not be read by the browser. So I can just make a little note here. These next 2 lines of code will import the CSS styles from the other CSS files. Okay, so I've explained by using this comment what these 2 lines of code do. And I think that's really good advice, and I do wish I'd have showed you that right at the start, because if you're writing these pieces of code, put comments on them so that later on when you come back to them, you understand what you've done. So to confirm, to write a comment, we write slash, asterisk, anything we write in between there won't be read by the browser, and then we could do asterisk slash to close it. In the next video I'm going to show you that this is actually working, that these 2 documents are linking via this main.css into our HTML, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about the different styles that we can use for div tags. Okay.